Good morning. We're back at it. Happy Thanksgiving, also, by the way, if you're in the United States. Today's one of the best holidays of the year. Lots of family, lots of food. So I hope it's a good one. All right, to get started, let's see. We're gonna do live chat. We're gonna pin a message. Happy Thanksgiving. What's up, Wilo Gamer Pro? Good morning, sir. Good to see you. You are first again here today. Yes, coffee. Coffee indeed, man. Still fighting with the light mode? Oh no, we figured it out. Okay, so this is the most silly thing ever, but apparently, so I use this application called Power Toys, and apparently Power Toys added they either added it or for a while, or they must have recently changed something about it. They have this utility called Light Switch, which basically flips your computer from light and dark based on a particular schedule. And so this utility was what was forcing it, because it was only allowing turning on dark mode between these times, right? And so it kept, yeah, I know, hilarious, right? So it kept fucking flipping it, and so I turned it off. I had the same issue with my other computer, my laptop. So it must have been some update, Windows Power Toys installed or something. For the most part, yeah, see, it's brand new too. There you go. So yeah, that was a pain in the ass. But we figured it out. Good morning, Shanto. Watching from Bangladesh? Nice. Well, good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. I hope Bangladesh is treating you alright this morning. I'm just doing a few housekeeping things before we get started for the day. I fell asleep last night on the couch, and so I'm catching up on getting all my stuff organized for my stream. Let's see, what's the topic? Today's Happy Thanksgiving. And we'll do, let's see, 4:15 a.m. to, I guess, 4:20 a.m. maybe. I always make a Discord event too for this now, in case people prefer to do their stream from Discord. Okay, that's created. And I think last thing we need to do, so we pinned a message, we've got our coffee, we have our water, got our phones, in case my wife needs me. I've got my orange. We pinned a message, we said good morning to chat, we set up a Discord event. The Discord bot notified Discord. What else? Members list. We need to make sure our members list doesn't need to be updated, which is a manual thing, which is really, I have this really petty thing going on with YouTube. Every time YouTube sends me a survey for their partner program, I just reply to it and I say, I will answer your survey whenever you guys allow me to have access to my members list through the API. Yep, okay, we need to update the members list, so give me 1 sec to do that, guys. This is a little bit of a process. We have to go to Membership Monitor. So this is a little program I made. This is a little program I made to basically get a list of members and write it out to a file in a particular format. So what we have to do is we have to go to YouTube provides this. YouTube provides this endpoint for getting your members' information. However, you have to ask specifically for access for it. So what I've been doing is instead I've been coming in here and I've been doing this. So I say try this API. Then I pick the members endpoint. And I put snippet. And then I set max results to 1,000. And then we execute, which it'll have me go through like an OAuth flow. And then it should succeed, and that gives me a list of my members. It's really silly that this is what I have to do to get this. This should be something I can automate. 100% this should be something I can automate. Alright, then we go over here and we do Notepad, OneDrive, I know this is thrilling content. Then we do members.json. Let's do OneDrive. Desktop. Members.json. So I take all that stuff I just copied, I paste it in there, then I do .NET index. Oh, hold on. I think I have to specify the file. Shanto, why don't I use Linux? Well, I don't want to like be a jerk, but it's for the same reason you probably use Linux, right? So like if I was to turn that question back around on you, why do you use Linux, right? It's probably because you like it. And that's, for me, that's the reason I use Windows. It's like I enjoy working on Windows, which I know for some people is like, what? How is that possible? But for me, yeah, I like it. I mean, and the thing is, like, I use Linux. You know what I mean? It's not I don't use Linux, because I do. I just don't use it as my daily driver, you know? So do .NET, index.cs. Great, so that should have produced a new file at OneDrive, desktop. There we go. We only have 54 now. We used to have 104, but we had a bunch of people drop off because they were gifted MIMs. And then I need to just update the file path. Oh, whoops. Hold on, let me redo that. Let me redo it. Sorry guys, this is all the housekeeping stuff that I try to do each morning before we start the stream. All right. Now we're done. Now all the housekeeping's done. So I think, given today is Thanksgiving, I think we'll just keep writing the code we've been writing, working on an API, maybe doing some Golang. So we don't need this anymore. Also, if anybody knows anybody at YouTube and can hook me up with somebody there that can help me get access to my members list programmatically, I would appreciate it. Haha, I use both, but I dual boot basically. Oh, nice, yeah. So I just enjoy Windows, and I I do use Linux, but I primarily use Linux for hosting things, not as kind of a daily driver. Hey, what's up, Matthew? Good morning, sir. How are you? Have you done any robotics programming? No, I've not built a robot or anything like that, so I don't even know where I would start or what I would need to do that. What about you, Matthew? Have you done any robotics programming? Anything cool you'd like to share with the class? Did you guys ever hate that when teachers would do that in school? You like talking to a friend. Good morning, Toad Sage. Rampla. Hi, just got a stupid question. I had a MS-DOS certificate ages ago. Is that a bit like coding? First off, I don't think any question's dumb. You know, there are no stupid questions. Whether people want to try to make you believe there are or not, there aren't. A question always means that you're trying to seek an understanding or an enlightenment. So it's a good thing. I don't know, what is an MS-DOS certificate? I'm not even sure what that means. Does that mean like you had a certificate to prove that you knew how to use MS-DOS? Is that what that means? MS-DOS certificate? A certificate of completion for a modern course on MS-DOS. Is that what you mean, Rampla? Because if so, I don't think it's quite exactly like coding, but kind of like, I think it probably meant like you knew how to use that particular OS. But like, I guess that OS was more built around a terminal interface, so it was probably more like coding than using a modern computer today. Good morning, Toad Sage. Except who are you? This question sucks. What? No, man. Everyone's allowed to ask who I am. Rampla. High school just showed you kind of know how to use a computer system. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I would say it is. You know, it'd be more like getting a certificate for, you know, how to use Windows 11. Which, I mean, granted, older operating systems were much more similar to like entering commands into a computer, like programming, than using like a modern GUI is. But yeah, I wouldn't call it exactly like coding, but similar, you know, tangentially related, if that's even a word. All right, let's get started. What do we want to do? I don't know, chat. What do we want to get started with? I guess I've been working on that API, which has been a ton of fun. But we could also, if you guys wanted to, we could also do a little bit of admin of code. Yeah, I don't really have any thing planned other than just enjoy my Thanksgiving morning. Man, it's a world apart nowadays. I wish I kept up. You guys have a bright future. I don't know, dude. I don't know how old you are. I'm 32, Rampla, but I guess I would say a couple things to you. One is, it's never too late, right? So if you wanted to be involved in this kind of stuff, you can learn to code at any point in time in your life. You know, you see like 70-year-olds running marathons for the first time, right? So it's like, it's never too late. The second thing I'm going to say is, if you listen to all the AI hype, apparently the future is not bright for all of us developers, because apparently there's no need for us anymore. Not that I believe that, but that's what the world is trying to convince a lot of engineers. Which is really shitty, you know? Kogo. Hello, Kogo. How are you? Back end, front end. No, how about you front end your back end, Kogo? How about that? What can I say, man? I match energy around here. All right. So we were at the point where we were basically trying to write tests for our API here. You think that's gonna be the case? Someone has to program the program? No. Yeah, I mean that's my well, my take on it is two things. One is I think we're far away from AI being a real replacement for an actual human being. I think AI is way more out of place now where it's more of a modifier, right? And more of as an augmenter, something that humans use to make them more productive or make them more useful, but it's not a drop-in replacement. And then also to your point, you make a good point. It's like, yes, somebody's going to build those systems. Somebody's going to maintain the infrastructure that those systems run on. As far as like someone programming the program, I think the conjecture there would be once you reach a certain level of intelligence in AI, then the AI is responsible for almost programming itself in a ways, or you reach a certain level of intelligence where there's no need for additional programs because things can be generated on the fly. You know, because like once you start going down the science fiction rabbit hole, right? all all things get crazy, right? So, yeah, but yeah, I don't believe it. I think that the future is very bright for engineers and programmers and problem solvers of all types. There's just a very big hype in the industry right now to convince you otherwise, which sucks. Happy Thanksgiving, Artwork Studios. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hunting Satire. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, bro. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. That be the day Terminator will stand up Skynet scenarios. Yeah, we don't want that type of AI, do we? We do not want that type of AI at all. No, thank you, sir. All right, so we've got a little bit of validation now with our API. So if we do this, oops, excuse me. Well, that's not what I would have expected. Let's see. If I do that. Okay, so this should not be passing our validation. So what's happening? We should be hitting this. I guess let's do format dot print line. Today, I will either do lots of coding or have some fun and make a spaceship in a game. Do both, you know? Do both. Why not? Clankers ain't taking over anytime soon. Yeah, I don't think so either, but I tell you what, people want us to think otherwise. All right, why? No required module provides package strings. What? What's happening? Okay, this should not be valid. Okay, so why is this valid? I don't know why it's valid. So let's go into the rec. So if strings.trimspace trim space r dot name equals empty space. Errors should append name is required, and then if length of errors is greater than 0, length of errors needs to equal 0. That's why I should have a test for that method. Yes. There we go. Name is required. Now this, though, instead of returning name is required, I want to return something that looks more like a JSON object. So we need to do a little bit of refactoring to get this where we want it. Life is happy when you make your life simple, my dude. I would agree with that. I mean, I live a simple life. I write code. I kiss my wife. I hug my kids. I drink coffee. Try to save. I try to spend less than I make and invest the difference. And just do that as often as I can every day. Live and embrace the simple life. I would concur with that, man. Hunting. This is for your website. So we finished the static website that we were working on, or at least we got it to a point where it's like good enough. We built this like little links website using Go. So it's basically a Go server that serves static files, right? So it's just serving an index.html with some styles, some CSS, some fonts, right? So we made this a little while ago. And then right now what I'm working on is basically how do I build REST APIs in Go? So we're kind of, this is the learning journey that we've been on for the last 27 days or whatever. And right now we're just trying to build some projects with Go at the moment. And it's been interesting because it's basically trying to learn how to recreate what I already know how to do in C#, but do it in the Go way, you know, the Go way. So that's what we're doing. Matthew, I have used AI to experiment with OCR scanning. If you give it specifics with devices and version, it is much easier to build what you need. Also really good at producing GUI from drawings. Oh, interesting. I don't think I've had it do the GUI from drawings. I've definitely given it documents to look at, which I think is what the OCR you're talking about. You're talking about optical character recognition. Which is not really optical. It's not really optical. It's just like it's been trained on base 64 encoded data. A lot of base 64 encoded data. That's right. I checked it out the other day. Cool stuff, man. Oh, cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. No festive coding today? I mean, we could. What would be a good thing to code on Thanksgiving? Creatives, have you tried Gemini 3 for coding? I've been using Gemini a little bit in just asking questions about code, and I've been using a little bit in Copilot. But I'm not much of a. I don't really code like that, creatives. I don't really open up Copilot in the CLI or the Gemini CLI and like build me X. Well, I don't really do that. I just don't find it very enjoyable or fun. I use AI quite a bit for like tab completion, and I use it a lot for like answering my questions or like showing me example implementations. But yeah, I don't use it. You're still a traditional man. Yeah, I still program and still code like a caveman because largely I do this because I enjoy it. So if you force me to do it in a way I don't enjoy it, I would just rather go spend my time doing other things, you know? I get it if your boss is like, hey, you have to use Copilot CLI or you have to use Gemini CLI, right? That's fine. And I can do it. Like, I can use those tools. I've done it before. I can do it. But the reason I know it's not very fun for me is because I've done it before. And I always walk away from prompting my way through a project feeling very dissatisfied and disengaged with the whole thing. Because to me, the joy of programming and coding is the process. It's not the outcome. Like it's not like yesterday, for example, I spent like 2 or 3 hours working on Advent, a code problem from 2022, because it's fun to solve a puzzle, not because I want to get to a solution, right? And it's hard for people to understand that. It's like you can just genuinely enjoy the creative process and not care a whole lot about the outcome. I mean, that's a thing, it's why artists are artists. Like so yeah. I just I don't really use, so when people ask me, have you tried coding with XYZ model? I just don't use it that way. There's a YouTuber I follow named WebDev Cody who's doing a lot like that. So if you're interested in content like that or people who are coding like that, you might go look at some of his content because he's doing a lot with some of the models. And I think he primarily uses Cursor as his editor of choice now. But yeah, he's doing some cool stuff live in videos with building with like I'm not gonna call it vibe coding. I'm gonna call it like prompt driven development almost. So if you like that kind of stuff, he's a good dude. Hunting, I definitely don't use AI to help me code. Well, I mean, it definitely helps me code. I mean, I have it in my editor, right? So like I have Copilot wired up to do tab completion. And we asked it like 10 questions yesterday to help us figure out how to do stuff. I just don't use it in that CLI like agent way, you know. I'm a caveman. Rampla, relaxing background music. Oh, you like that? That's some lo-fi music from this website called Lo-Fi Generator. I just put the link in the chat. It's made by a developer named Dylan Turner. So if you enjoy it or want to use it yourself, go for it. My professor says if you use AI, you're replaceable. Yeah, I mean, I'm sad to say to your professor that everyone's replaceable, you know. Unfortunately, unless you're like John Carmack or Demis. How do you say his last name? The guy that's in charge of Google's AI. Demis Haspisius or something like that. This guy, unless you're this dude, or you're John Carmack, or you're Mark Zuckerberg, or somebody like that, you're replaceable. So whether you use AI or not. I do think using AI is not a great way to learn, though. That's for sure. I should say using AI to code is not a great way to learn. Using AI in general to like ask questions and figure things out and explore ideas, that's fine. That may help you learn, but just outright writing code with AI, not helpful. That's why like I've been learning Go. The last...
Demis Hassabis.
Oh, I don't want Arabic. I want English.
Demis Hassabis.
Demis Hassabis. Yeah, that guy. He's not replaceable. For sure. What was I saying? Something about AI, something about... Oh, that's why the last month that I've been writing Go, I've had Copilot turned off because I don't want Copilot taking all my reps that will help me learn the syntax and how to write Go. I don't use Python. I just use Python. There's just so many models and platforms out there. It's so overwhelming. I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm a student and still learning. No, I think everyone's overwhelmed by it. Yeah, I think everyone is. Matthew, I don't know if you game, but Space Engineers allows people to program scripts to not mod vanilla gameplay. Oh, that's pretty cool. So sort of like, is it sort of like Minecraft mods? I've built one of those before when my kids was little, but that's about the only modding I've done. But I'm just not much into video game development myself. It's never really been my thing. But that looks cool. Yeah, I don't play that game, but sounds like it could be very fun for somebody to do. All right, let me get my fingers warmed up here. Let's see. Typer. Let's make sure Copilot's disabled. Copilot disabled. Hey, I forgot to ask you, did you code the coffee animation? If so, how? Yeah, you mean the coffee animation for... Are you talking about for my Be Right Back thing? This? Yes? Yeah, I did. It's pretty low tech. You're talking about this thing for chat. If you don't know what he's talking about, he's talking about this coffee animation that I made for the BRB sign. Yeah, and that's actually stupid simple. It took a minute to get it to write it because I was trying to like get the animation to like go just right to alternate. So I have to move the cursor to a very specific place when I write to the terminal. Here it is. Let me see. Cat profile. Yeah, it's literally just a PowerShell function called BRB. And then I have two sets of steam lines, right? I have one for one direction and one for another direction. And then I have the lines for the cup. And then I have the message. And then I just start a loop that says, hey, while no one has pressed a key, write out all the current steam lines, right? Then I say, give me the cup lines, give me the BRB message. Then I sleep for 1,000 seconds. And then I just flip the index that I'm selecting for which steam frames to pick from. So there's only 2 steam frames. So it's either 0 or 1. And I'm just flipping back and forth when I pick that index up here. So it's dead simple. And I just call it from PowerShell. I wish it was fancier and smarter than that, but that was the best implementation I could come up with. Hopefully that answers your question, creatives. Oh, did I need to make this smaller to use that? There we go. Doing a little bit of warm up. My fingers feel a little cold this morning. Oh my gosh, xerothermic. That's a word right there. 75 words per minute. Could I be a secretary? I don't think so. That's pretty slow, isn't it? Control R. Okay, let's see. Zigged coat suitable Quirl kaleidoscope. Vacate. Oh. Alright. One more time. Hello. Oh no. That's Ashuto. Sorry, I had someone earlier that was Shuto. Good morning, Ashuto. Good to see you. Hunting satire. Yo, guess what? Got to witness a police homicide squad the other day. Crazy stuff. Why was there a police homicide squad where you were? Hopefully you weren't involved in any of that. Alright, I think I'm ready. Let's jump into this. Bradley, good evening. Good to see you, man. How are you? Cheek Towaga. Shit was on the news. Full homicide, carjacking, crazy stuff. That's terrible, man. I hate that stuff goes on like that in the world. That's awful. The stuff human beings do to each other is just... It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. Only in Buffalo do you get crazy stuff. Oh, you live in Buffalo? Like Buffalo, New York? Like where Tim the Tapman's from? That's the only thing I know about Buffalo. Well, I know the Buffalo Bills play in Buffalo, and I know Tim the Tapman's from Buffalo. Winding down for the night here. How's the Go coming along? Yeah, it's still fun. I've been having a blast. The REST API has actually been a blast to build because I've been able to sort of explore, like, how do you architect a Go project in a similar way that feels familiar to like what I would do in C#. And that has helped me better understand the package system and how you organize your packages and whatnot. So this has been actually a blast to do. Even though it's just a simple toy API, it's a lot of fun. Search up homicide Cheek Towaga. No, that does not sound like something I want to search up on Thanksgiving morning. I want to stay in my cozy little bubble where the world is safe and everyone's happy and just going to eat a lot of food and have a good time. I don't want to poison my thoughts with all the depravity of the world. Good morning, Arvin. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, I know it's sad and scary. It is, man. It is, and it's even worse when you have kids because I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and as a father, I have to. You know, I have both of them are sons, boys, and so I have to think: how do I prepare them? Like, at what time do I? At what times in their lives do I rob them of their innocence about the world, you know? Like, they're going to be men someday, and they need to be prepared to be providers and protectors, and they need to be aware that there's just some evil, bad shit in the world, you know? What's up, Mr. Braun? How would you say that word in English? Good morning from Boston. Well, how's Boston? Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you're preparing for a day of family and fun and food. That's what I'm preparing for. I'm very excited. My wife's family is staying with us. We've got all the cousins in the house. There was lots of madness unfolding last night. Let's see, Google Translate. Google Translate has become my best friend since I can't pronounce anything.
Branch.
Branch, really?
Branch.
Huh.
Branch.
Mr. Branch? It's Bran H. Oh, okay, so I'll just say Mr. Bran. How about that? Packages and file structure handling for program. Yeah, we're talking about building a REST API in Go and just how things are done in that ecosystem versus like what I'm familiar with, which is mainly TypeScript and C#. So it's just interesting to kind of learn how another language organizes stuff and architects things. I don't want to poison my mind by the depravity of the world. Yeah, I mean, you want to be. It's difficult, Arvin, because you want to be aware of these things, right? But you don't want them to be so consuming they overwhelm you or paralyze you. You know. Bradley, particular architecture pattern, anything like that, or just grouping endures by feature or something. So I think any architecture pattern that you would take in another language, you can do in Go. I've been using not really a vertical slice architecture, which is what you mentioned, where you kind of organize things by feature. I've been doing much more of a classic kind of organization by concern. So like I have all the handlers in here, I have my middleware in here, models, right? So this is kind of your classic, if you're in the C# or .NET world, this would be your classic like controllers in a file, DTOs in a file, right? Or in a directory folder. So you can do that same type of thing here. But it's interesting when it comes to actually consuming your packages. Like, what do you want what do you want it to look like when a consumer consumes your package? That's been kind of what's been kind of interesting for me to think about. Like, for example, if I want to new up a handler, which is essentially a controller, if you're talking C# .NET world, how do I do that, right? What's the entry point for the handlers? And so this is kind of the pattern that I've settled on, which is I have the handlers package, which is going to explore or export or expose functions for creating handlers by passing in their dependencies, which in this case, this just has a store dependency. And then each handler will have methods that hang off of it to deal with each of the routes. But that's kind of what I mean by architecture. Or maybe not even, maybe not even architecture, just like how I organize things and where I put things and how that translates to what the consumer looks like or what the calling code looks like. And so far, I think I'm at a place where I'm happy with it. But it's been good to explore. But like, dude, so much for having a day out. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be walking around outside if there was homicides going on, man. You can just call me Brandon. Okay, cool. Well, Brandon, good to have you here. Protect them, yeah. I think it'll come mostly from them. They'll get to a point where they realize themselves. Yeah, but as a father, you don't want them to just figure things out, right? You want to be able to prepare them. You don't want the first time they have to do something to be where it's super high stakes and the consequences are really high, See you, Artwork Studios. Have a good day, man. Unless you come back, then we'll be glad to see you again. There's actually a word for it, information hazard, and information that just knowing it causes harm. I've never heard that. Information hazard. Huh. It's a real thing. It was formalized by philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2011. Very interesting. Well, yes. I don't want to commit an information hazard. Bradley. Seems neat and tidy. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think things at small scale seem neat and tidy, but then, if you're talking like a really big project with a lot of people, then it might not be so neat and tidy. Brandon, I like standard library for Go. I almost never use frameworks, and Go doesn't impose any structure. It's kind of flexible in that way. I started talking about this in the last couple days. I appreciate that about Go. That has a nice standard library, that it's simple. It kind of allows you to pick your path, so to speak. At the same time, though, it actually makes doing tasks more complicated because you're, like in C#, for example, if you want to reverse a slice, right? They just have a link method that does that, right? That hangs off the list, the IEnumerable type. In Go, it's much more. It's not that easy, right? So it's like I appreciate the simplicity, but through being uber simple, they actually make certain tasks more complicated. Sorry, I gotta go blow my nose. Hold on one sec. I'll be right back. I'm back. Let me catch up. I'm falling behind with chat. Dog, what have I started? I have no idea. Bradley, you're in Australia? That's cool. I've always wanted to I've always wanted to go to Australia. Brandon, I've been a GoDev for 10 years. I'm bored of it now. I'm building a game engine from scratch in Zig. Woo, that sounds hard, but probably fun. Studio. Oh, finally. I've been waiting 5 minutes to chat. I'm here. I've also recently started learning Go. How do you like it? Tell us about it. It'd be your first language? Nice. To me, it's still not. I like it. It didn't supplant C#, and it didn't supplant TypeScript. So, it's better than Python, though. That's the other language I know and can write. So I would put Go above Python. But at this point, I'd put a lot of things above Python. I'd put most things above Python. One can dream. Yes, one can dream indeed. Isn't Australia supposed to be like a free country? I think Australia is. It's a very Western style of democracy. For underage teens, yes, they are pushing for it. Oh, you guys are talking about the social media ban. Yeah, that's I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, I'm a dad, so I have opinions about this. You know, as somebody who has young sons, I definitely have opinions about their digital life, but I'm curious to see what other people think. Actually, Go is more like a nice highway. It is so smooth, but after jumping from JavaScript, it looks a bit strict. Yeah, it's much more strict on the typing, you know. It's much more of a hold on, I should probably do func test create coffee request. Yeah, it's much more strict on the typing, but I actually think Go and JavaScript are actually very similar in their approaches, although Go has a better standard library, but they're similar in the sense that they kind of like offer you the primitives, and then they're kind of like, okay, now you figure it out. I don't know. You want to do functional programming, do that. You want to do object-oriented programming, do that. I don't know. Right? So it's like, it's very much a choose your own adventure, which is good. That is good for a lot of reasons, but it's also makes doing trivial things or doing solved problems more onerous than they probably should be, in my opinion. I have mixed feelings, but overall I would argue it does more harm than good, especially for younger people. I mean, if you look at the research, it's almost an objective truth that social media for young people, and I would probably admit that if you did the research even for people that are my age, objectively social media is probably more harmful than it is beneficial to the vast majority of people, you know. So as somebody who has young kids, I would be totally fine with them banning social media for children under the age of, say, 16, maybe 18. I don't know. I definitely don't see any reason for my 9-year-old son to have social media. I question if the 13-year-old version of my son should have social media. I just don't think it's... I think it would be much better to spend... Like, I didn't have a Facebook until I was 18. So I think, like, for him, I'd want the same experience. I'd rather him just be able to focus on his friends in real life, the people at school, his relationships in the real world, sports, whatever his hobbies and interests are, video games. But like, I don't think I need him getting lost in a digital world just quite yet. Later, I realized I should have continued TypeScript. TypeScript's wonderful, man. That's the language. If you made me pick, if you said, Steven, you can only write one language ever again, TypeScript is what I would pick. Hunting satire. I don't know. Hearing about it, it feels a bit much, but like there's other ways to manage that stuff. I feel it stops youth from seeing what is really happening with the government. I mean, it's definitely an argument for censorship, you know? I mean, it's a thing. But then again, we treat children differently, right? Like children are somewhat treated as subjective to the will of their parents until they reach a certain age. You know, there's lots of like I can't even get my boys signed up for Call of Duty because or Battlefield because they block children from playing those games that are, I think, under the age of 13. So it's kind of like, okay, well, if we can keep children from using those services, what's the big deal from stopping them from using social media? Oh shit, Bonnie Blue was just mentioned in the chat. Here we go. I recently switched from Node to Go after knowing there's a lot to explore. Yeah, I mean, you should always explore too. It's good to learn new stuff. I'm defending it because I'm addicted. Aren't we all? We're all addicted. I agree. I lost in that digital with Trap, Mern, Mimmed, Mean Stacks. I'm highly recommended others to do their own research without AI. Yeah, I think AI can be helpful, but when you're learning, I don't think you want it stealing all of your opportunities to learn. Bro, I commute to work 2 days a week and I see the zombie generation. Nobody talks to anyone, head buried in their device. Yeah, I try to avoid sounding too much like a boomer on this topic because I don't want people to think that I think that technology is bad, because I don't necessarily believe that. I think, though, human beings have a tendency to follow the path of least resistance. And so I do kind of agree with you, Bradley, in the sense that like people will do what's most pleasurable, what's most easy, if allowed, left to their own devices. So yeah, it's probably much easier to stare into your screen and interact with people via some digital medium than to talk to a human being face to face, you know? I think that's, honestly, I think that's a lot of what you see with all this complaining from software engineers and developers who are like, I can't find work. I can't get a job. And it's like, well, have you walked into some businesses and handed your resume to actual human beings? Like, have you picked up the phone and actually tried calling somebody? Or have you just been cold applying through hiring portals, you know, endlessly submitting things into the void, right? It's like having the ability to talk to other human beings is really, really valuable. Having the ability to network with other human beings is really, really valuable. AI is good, but when we search for what should learn to get software job, it shows mostly top languages like Java, Python, JS, TS, React. Well, I think if you want a job, Java is the language you should learn. According to JetBrains' survey, so JetBrains does a big survey every year. What's it called? It's like developer survey. I can't remember what it's exactly called. So the one they did for 2025 had Java at the top, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Tools and trends. So this is like languages that offer the most promise, I think. But you can see here, like primary programming languages, Java and Python by far. Like if you wanted to get a job, like I'd probably learn Java. I'd probably learn Python. those probably give you a pretty good chance of getting hired. I mean, JavaScript's probably up there too. You definitely don't want to sit down and try to learn Haskell though. Like, like that's probably not the right language to learn to get a job. uh, yeah. So, as much as people want to shit on Java and C# and JavaScript and Python, like those are the languages that make you the most employable. No, they always just say apply online. Dude, if you're just doing what people tell you, even Wendy's, Arby's, McDonald's, yeah, I would apply on. I would do all the things. Hunting Satire. If it was me and I needed a job, I do all the things. I apply online. I show up in your store. I ask to speak to the person who's in charge of hiring. I try to get a hold of a phone number so I can follow up with the person doing the hiring. I'm going to be like the annoying salesperson that sends you LinkedIn messages. I'm going to hustle for my job. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. That's my belief on job hunting. My belief on job hunting is you should treat it like you're selling and marketing yourself. The same way you would sell and market a product or a service, that's how you should job hunt. When I was deciding which language to learn, there were infinite .NET jobs in my city, so that's what I learned. I agree with you, Bradley, that geographic, like choosing your stack based on the geographic location is a good idea, because to me it seems like languages and technology seem to be geographically located. Like here in Kansas City, there's a big .NET presence, there's a big Java presence, right? But then if you go to like San Francisco, that's much more of like a Python, Node, JavaScript like environment, right? So I think basing your tech stack or basing the things you learn off of the employers that are in your area makes a lot of sense. After a few research, I created my own web development stack. I'm also looking for another stack. Huh. Well, I'm glad you've honed in on something, Studio. Ashutosh. Test automation? What do you want to know about test automation? Hunting Satire. Nah, they always push me away. Dude, I'm gonna tell you, man, it's a numbers game. You just need one person. You can get told no 1,000 times. You just need one person to say, yeah, we want to give you an opportunity. Here's your offer, right? You only need one. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. I just find it so hard. Yeah, I don't know. It is hard, man. It's hard. I don't know what to tell you. It's hard, but that's the way you do it. It's to me, it's hunting for a job is the same thing as trying to get personal training clients. Back when I had a personal training business, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're just selling a different thing. When I was trying to get personal training clients, I was trying to sell myself as a coach and the services I could offer and how I could help people get into better shape and figure out their nutrition and their exercise. And now when I hunt for jobs for me in the corporate world, it's just about selling my standing as an engineer, my standing as a project manager, my soft skills, my corporate skill. Like it's the same fundament, but the fundamental activity is the same. It's like, how do I get in front of the most people I can and paint the story I want to paint? And there's going to be a lot more no's than there are yeses. You just get used to it. Ashutosh. Yes, for me it's hard. Ashuto, I don't know what you want to know about test automation. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have, but I don't know what you want to know. If you learn Supabase plus Vite, then you can freelance fixing web apps built with Lovable. What? That is like the most specific Abdi, I think. I can't see the other half of your name. The name was so long it scrolled off the screen. I apologize, but thanks for subscribing. That is the most anything. That's the most specific business strategy I've ever heard of, but I love it. For me, it's hard to search jobs. I'm from India. We have two options. One, go to States or search for a job in India with skills. Yeah, I mean, it's not my place as an American who's not worked or lived in any other country to tell people who live in other countries the way to do things, right? Because, like, I get it. My experience may not translate to those other places, but if you're an American and you live in the United States, I think my opinion is applicable. We get paid in kangaroos. Wouldn't that be hilarious? Every 2 weeks, your employer shows up with a load of kangaroos to drop off at your house. AZ anything. Specific is good. Niche dominance. It's true, man. It's true. Like you don't want to be everything to everyone. I'm the vibe code janitor with specialty in Supabase and Vite cleanup. Dude, I've got none of those skills. Well, then those are the skills you need to work on. Playing Warframe and listening is relaxing. Hey, Rampla, you're still here. Good to see you. I've never heard of Warframe. Is that a video game? I know I haven't written any code yet, by the way, too. It's just been there's been a lot of chat, so I've been trying to interact with you guys. Warframe is a video game. What style of video game is it? Also, why is the YouTube logo like this? Or not YouTube logo, the Google logo. Warframe is a free-to-play action role-playing third-person shooter multiplayer online. Huh. I've never heard of it. It's kind of older, looks like, huh? Looks fun, though. I like a good video game. I've been playing a lot of Red Sec and Black Ops 7. Yeah, I like the game. Yeah, Red Sec and play a lot of first-person shooters. Space Ninjas, nice. See you, Hunting Satire. Have a good breakfast, man. COD, yeah. I play COD. All right, I'm gonna write some code here. I'll try to keep chatting, but I'm gonna try to write some actual code. Let's see. Let's do. I don't even know how to people. It should return true when request is valid. I know, what a great name. It should return false when request is invalid. So we're going to have request equals create coffee request. Oh, it comes from the handlers package. So we want handlers dot create coffee request is going to be let's see. Let's do name is dark roast coffee. Say results is rec dot validate. Like that. And we'll say we want result, it should be true. So if result equals false, expected result to be %s, but got %s. Is there any helpful assertion libraries in Go? Anybody know of any? Is it Vim or NeoVim? This is NeoVim. Bradley, what do you think about C# 14 and single files? I think it's pretty neat and long overdue. Yeah, C# 14. My favorite feature in C# 14 is the extension members feature, and my favorite feature in .NET 10 is the single file app support. And I made a couple videos on my YouTube channel about both of those. But it sounds like you already know what you're interested in. But for those of you who don't know what Bradley's talking about and you like .NET, there's a couple new features. Let's see. This is my favorite feature in .NET 10. I'll share that with you guys if you're interested. I love Lamp. Good to see you. How are you? You have school on Thanksgiving? Oh, you're not from the United States, are you? I was gonna say that sucks. So that's my favorite feature in .NET 10, and this is my favorite feature in C# 14. But I love it. I love the single file app support so much. I use NeoVim 2 with Ghosty. It is super fast. I use NeoVim with PowerShell in Windows Terminal on Windows 11. I do not use Ghosty. I've heard good things about Ghosty. The baguette country. Does that mean France? Yeah, France. Okay. Yeah, you guys probably don't celebrate Thanksgiving then. %s has R true of wrong type boolean. So how do I print a boolean? I don't know how to work with formatted strings in Go. Go, how to print a boolean in format string. %t? Okay. %t. Who came up with all these characters? Alright, now let's flip this. And we'll say empty string. We'll say expected errors equals a slice of string. And this should be name is required. Studio, add tmux to it, and it is almost like VS Code with hotkeys as extensions. I've heard about tmux. I've never used it. But that's awesome, dude. I'm really happy that you like your setup and that your setup is wicked fast for you. I'm gonna do, let's see, slices dot equal, and we are gonna do expected errors compared to errors. And if these things are not equal to one another, we have a problem. So let's do errors, and the errors we got, we'll say what do we want to say? Expected errors %s, but received errors %s, like that. I think both of these things will pass. So let's do, let's open up another terminal window. We'll use this one for running our tests. Where am I? Oh, I see that you adapted some of the Golang naming scheme. One-letter vars, which I still hate seeing even today. What? What are you talking about? Do I really have one-letter vars? Where? Oh, you mean this? We're talking about T? Is that what you're talking about? I do it that way because that's how every bit of documentation I've read on testing does it. That is, I guess I have accepted it. I didn't know it was such a hotly debated opinion to do that. Bradley, I'm at a halfway point using VS Code with WSL Ubuntu distro and Vim Motions plugin. I do plan on going to Lazy Vim, but I'm not ready to completely give up the mouse yet. Hey man, I still use the mouse. I don't think I'll ever be purely a keyboard only user. I do enjoy Vim Motions when I'm doing things with text, but there's lots of other programs that I use that aren't text-based, so I'm probably never going to give up a mouse. But whenever I write code or program, I like the ability to have Vim Motions available. So I have Vim Motions set up in VS Code. I have Vim Motions set up in Visual Studio. I have it set up in Writer. I have it on almost any editor I use now has Vim Motions set up in it. And I've said this before. I make no commitment to use NeoVim forever. I do make a commitment that I'll probably use Vim Motions forever. Vim Motions has been the biggest benefit of using NeoVim, in my opinion. Where am I? T and C for context, W for writer, or R for reader? Yeah, I have those 4 variables everywhere in this project right now. So can I ask you, what is your minimum? What is your minimum length for variable names then? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 6? What's the minimum? I'm trying my best to keep my hands on keyboard than using keyboard. I think what you're saying is you try your best to use your keyboard more than anything, which, hey man, I love it. I love it. All right, look at us. We got tests, man. Look at us. We're flying. What do I want to do next? I think I'd like to figure out how in my coffee handlers to return well-structured. Like all my errors right now are just text. So I think I would like to figure out how I return like JSON. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to talk to Copilot for a minute. I'm a newbie, but I'm already using glasses. You mean like you wear glasses while you write code, or what do you mean by that? Ryan, why do Java developers wear glasses? I don't know. This feels like a joke. This feels like we're prepping for a joke. Because they can't C sharp. Good one. Good one, Ryan. Where am I? I prefer C sharp naming or JS print func. So what, you prefer camel case, but I guess I don't understand why you don't like single letter variables. Bradley agreed. As programmers, we write text and Vim motions even with just the basics. Makes you more in control and productive. Yeah, and my Vim motion skills is very low. Like my Vim foo is not very high in terms of like if you were to turn Vim in or Vim motions into a martial art, I'd be like a white belt in Vim foo. But it's a lot of fun to do, and hopefully over the years I get better. Studio, yeah, I have eyesight. Santo, hello Santo, good to see you, or Santosh. I don't know how you'd want me to say your name, but I'll say Santosh. I have not gotten glasses yet. I probably do need them. I need to go to the eye doctor. I think I am nearsighted, right? Nearsighted means you can't see far away. Like I can notice that as I'm getting older, I'm having more trouble seeing things further away. All right, let's ask Copilot here. Copilot. See, I'm working in Go for the first time building a REST API. I noticed they don't have anything like the problem details service from .NET. How would I go about returning a shared error structure that is JSON in my API? Or how would you? Let's see what Gemini thinks. How have you been preventing the glasses? I don't know. It's not that I've been necessarily preventing them. It's just it hasn't impacted my life in such a great deal where I've been forced to go, you know? I should go every year, and I haven't been doing that. I have vision insurance, so it's not like going to cost me an arm and a leg to go. My kids have glasses. My wife has glasses. They go to the eye doctor every year. I've just been bad about going. Ryan said single letter variables are fine in certain situations such as math formulas, but to reduce the amount of comments I need, I've gotten very descriptive with my variable and function names. Yeah, I would agree. If the function and the variable name are the only context you have for what that thing is, couldn't agree more. However, I will say that like in C# lambdas, like if I'm doing like something with a link in C#, a lot of the times my parameters will be a single letter, you know? Like for example here, let's see where it is. Like this, I would probably wouldn't say name. I would probably just do the letter in, you know? Like I'd probably just do in. Because to me, there's enough context there for the reader to figure out what in is, right? In is an item in names. What is names? It's a list of names, right? So to me, it's like context matters a whole lot for readability. Studio, which is best code agent like AI? So I pay for two AI services. I've used Claude Code, I've used Copilot, I've used Gemini CLI. I haven't used Cursor. I haven't used Windsurf. What else? I haven't used OpenCode. But I'm a paid customer to Gemini, and I'm a paid customer to Copilot. And so I've used their CLI tools the most. So I can't really say what is the best coding agent because I don't spend all my days just sitting down and getting coding agents to build me projects, which is kind of like like think about this, people. The people that you see on YouTube and Twitter talking about which model is the best for coding, right? Or which agent is the best coding agent. Do you guys really believe that they're spending 40 hours a week just building with all these different agents in order to make an educated guess or to offer an educated opinion on which one's best? Do you guys really think they're doing that? Or are you like me and do you think it's mostly content farming and engagement farming? Here, let's pull chat. Let's see what chat thinks, because I'm skeptical. What do you think of coding agent content? Legit farming. Because I think it's farming. I call bullshit. Unless you sit down and you stream yourself working for 40 hours with these agents, I call bullshit. I don't think you're doing what you claim you're doing. So Santos, going back to your question, it's like I can't really tell you what the best coding agent is because I've only used 2 of them, and of the 2 I use, I don't use them a whole lot. So it's like, I don't know. I still write code like a caveman. See you, Bradley. Have a good night, man. Thanks for tuning in from Australia. We appreciate you. Ryan, Lambda functions always use a single letter variable because of the context available. Same with event handlers in JavaScript. Yeah, I'm with you there, man. 100%. I will always be used as the index in loops. Agreed. Except Ryan, I have one exceptional case to that. And I actually have a concrete example I can show for that, for the indexer thing. So one of the things I do every year is I do Advent of Code. And if you're not familiar with Advent of Code, I'll put that in the chat there, AOC. But in Advent of Code, you have to work with, rows and columns a lot. And let's see, grid. Yeah. So this is the one place where I will typically rename the indexer if I am indexing. I know this is a little bit different because I'm using the range syntax, but I'll almost always, like if I was doing an actual for loop, instead of doing I equals 0 like this, I would probably rename this to row num to keep me straight. Because I find this more expressive, and characters are free in languages nowadays. So I use whatever naming I need to better understand the problem and not make mistakes. which sometimes means I write more verbose code, and sometimes it means I write more terse code. It just depends. But I would agree with you 100% that I is always used for the loop indexer, except for for these Advent of Code problems where I get really confused, which is probably a skill issue on my part, but it is what it is. Dude, only one person thinks these people are farming? Oh no, 6 people. Okay, everyone thinks it's farming. I love it. I love that chat is agreeing with me. I was getting ready to be like, what? You guys don't think that? You know, I never even thought about that use case. If I ever run into that, I'll be using that pattern. Yeah, row and column when you're dealing with a grid. Yeah. Or anything. I mean, really anything where you're iterating over something tangible, right? Like where the thing you're iterating over represents something concrete that could get confused with some other indexer. You know, like I always see people use I and J as the characters, and that always a lot of times confuses me. So those are cases where sometimes I will rename the indexer. But yeah, other than that, I would totally agree. I love lamp. What do you mean by that, by the way? What do you mean by are you talking about the poll, I love lamp? Is that what you're talking about? What do I mean by the poll? Let's see what Copilot ended up coming up with. What's it say? Okay, define the problem. Oh, the poll. Okay, so I'll just scroll through my Twitter, right? Like we'll just this is dangerous to do live, but we'll just scroll through my Twitter here, and let's see if we can find some content around coding agents, right? There's usually quite a bit of it. I'm trying to find a good example. Well, now I can't find a good example. Okay, so what I'm talking about is basically there'll be times where I'm scrolling X, and there will be some random person, I don't know who they are. Sometimes, most of the time, it's people I don't follow, but they will be like, they'll have some crazy screenshot with like 5 or 10 terminal windows open, all with supposed different agents running, and then the text will say something like, "I just tried Gemini CLI or Copilot, blah, 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 and it did X, Y, Z, and it was crazy, and this is why Copilot's better, this is why Gemini's better, this is why Cursor's better." And the truth of the matter is that to actually have a real opinion about something, you need to work with it for a while. And in order to compare and evaluate two things to each other, you have to be pretty stringent with how you evaluate them, right? You need to collect data, you need to analyze that data, you need to do statistical analysis on that data. So to me, it's like a lot of these opinions about which coding agents are the best agents to work with it's just people who are trying to get views and people who are trying to get engagement. It's not people that are actually trying to do helpful research and analysis. It's just so that's what I mean by the poll. That's what I mean by the poll. So I'm glad chat agrees with me. Pablo, oh, you are on a tangent. Nice timing. Good morning. Good morning, Pablo. Yeah, we are on a tangent. We've been on a tangent for most of the stream, honestly. I think I've written like 30 lines of code. If that. Ryan, I refuse to use AI. Call me old-fashioned / stubborn, but I want to use my brain to figure out problems instead of offloading my work to a statistical model. Yeah, if my boss came to me tomorrow and said, I sound like a record because I'm always saying the same things over and over again. But if my boss came to me tomorrow and said, "Steven, when you write code here at work, you have to do it with an agent. You know, you have to prompt Copilot or you need to prompt Gemini CLI. You can't write code manually anymore." If my boss told me that, I would say, "Okay, I'll do that." Because I need the money. I have a wife. I have 2 kids. They're counting on me. So I would be like, "Sure, boss, I will do that." But I can tell you, that day, I would start looking for another thing to do. Because I do not want to spend my days being a prompt engineer. I just don't. I don't find it enjoyable. I don't find it fun. It's very frustrating. I find it inefficient. I don't want to do it. So I would do it if you made me do it. But if that became how my job had to be done, I would go be a what would I do? I don't know. My next career, I'd either go try to be, well, I don't know. I guess I'd probably go be like an accountant or something. Something that deals with personal finance or financial or stock market. I would do something in that realm, probably. But I totally understand, Ryan. I totally understand wanting to be I'm look at me. I'm here. I've got Copilot disabled. I'm writing code by hand. So that's where I'm at with it. Mark says, "Oh look, it's this dude again." The typical suck it up American dad. At least some refreshing takes on AI tools. Mark, are we coming in hot? I wouldn't call myself the typical suck it up American dad. I don't know if you have much experience with American dads, but I wouldn't say I'm typical at all to the American dad experience. Although I think me and Mark might have me and Mark probably see the world very differently, because the first video I see on his YouTube channel is a MAGA rally. So me and Mark probably don't get along very well. Ryan, prompt and engineer shouldn't be in the same job title. They're vibe coders and they make nothing but a house of cards that's waiting to fall. What are you talking about, man? Prompt engineering? It's a whole discipline. I'm surprised we haven't seen a college roll out like a bachelor's of science in prompt engineering or some shit like that. The crazy thing is, you know what's really sad and unfortunate? Mark, it's an ironic video. You should see it. It's a compilation of the most insane bits from Maha rallies I could find. Well, I believe you found quite a few then. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you too, Mo. So nice when people drop in and say nice comments. So yeah, I mostly listen when you want to learn something or language you need to teach others or explain yourself to you like you are a 5-year-old. Oh, I mean, I think AI, I mean, again, it's like I have a very subtle take on AI. I don't think AI is going to replace all engineers. I don't think it's this omnipotent, all-powerful tool that should be used for all things. I also don't think it's useless. I think LLMs are a very interesting, useful piece of technology. I just don't think they're going to create the devastation that people think they're going to. At least not as fast, right? I mean, we're a year into the timeline when 90% of all code was supposed to be being written by large language models, according to the CEO of Anthropic, according to the CEO of Google, according to the CEO of Microsoft. All these people a year ago were claiming that like 90% of code at this point would be written by AI or some crazy statistic, right? Like whatever it was, they were saying that we would be much further along than we are. That's just how the hype cycle is. Like I wrote this in Discord, but I have some folks back home where I'm from that have worked in manufacturing plants for 30 years, 40 years. And the whole time they've worked there, they've been being told that their job is going to get automated. They still work there. I mean, does automation happen? Yes. But it happens way slower and is way more difficult and complex than people ever estimate it to be. So we've seen that play out in the blue collar world, and we're going to see that play out in the white collar world. People think they're going to be able to automate engineers, lawyers, doctors, all these white collar jobs. People think they're going to be able to take LLMs and automate them out. And I'm telling you, it's going to take way longer, be way more difficult, and way more expensive than anybody gives it credit. Ryan, the day AI writes a whole program itself is the day the world ends. I mean, the thing is, it can write some programs all by itself, right? So, depends on what you ask it to do. But, like, if you want it to write, like, a short, simple script for you, it can definitely do that. Can it rebuild Slack? Probably not. Call me a communist, but my hypothesis is that these companies so desperately want to get rid of humans that they hope LLMs are the saving technology. Mark, I don't think you're communist, and I don't think you're crazy. I think that is the proper hypothesis. I think that is why that is why this hype exists, because for the first time, executives and business people feel like they have a technology that they can use to reduce the need for this group of professionals that they've not had a way to get rid of, right? So if you look at the blue collar world, if you look at manufacturing, right, we've been able to add all this, we have all these technologies and all this engineering that can help us automate manual repetitive tasks, right? Like palletizing, like packaging, like scales for weighing product. Like we have all this engineering that we can do to help reduce the manual physical labor. Again, it's still costly, it's still effective, it's still ineffective, it's still costly, takes a long time, all those challenges. But LLMs are the first time where business people have had a technology where they're like, ooh, we could use this to replace an engineer or a doctor and so that's all this hype is about, right? It's the business people getting very excited, thinking we can do the same amount of work with fewer people, or we can do more work with the same amount of people. That's all it is. And they're trying to shove it in every nook and cranny and place they can, and a lot of it's unsuccessful. Yeah, exactly what Ryan just said. Now they want to automate the office. Exactly. They've been trying for 40 years to automate manufacturing plants and blue collar work, and now they think now we have something that might let us do it in the office. That's exactly what's happening. And they're going to underestimate, just like they have in manufacturing, how difficult it is to do automation. It's difficult. So that's why these companies pump so much money into LLMs. In worst case for us, Jeff Bezos finds a way to get rid of workers, and in the best case, we are just wasting tax money and resources on AI. I think the best case, the best case is more likely, which is that we're wasting money and resources on a technology that will prove to be not the path to AGI, right? I think LLMs are going to be like a very useful piece of technology that has a place in our lives for the foreseeable future, but I think we're going to try to do way too much with it, and we're going to waste a lot of time and energy on it. Ryan, granted, I can probably reliably automate all aspects of a manufacturer's office except for customer service, because people want human connection. I don't know, man. When I was a food scientist and I was doing product development at a manufacturing plant, dude, shit's messy. I mean, it's difficult. Like it's not easy stuff. Like things always look good on paper, but when applied in the real world, they're way messier. Yeah, just way messier. Dealing with bills of materials and different vendors and raw material variability and all kinds of just stuff that you would never think to consider at scale is a nightmare to deal with. I heard in news a office replaced its worker with an AI, and that company lost nearly 80 million in a few weeks. Sorry, not workers, I mean developers. I haven't heard that story, but I did see the news story earlier this year. I think it was Klarna, right? Or I guess this was 2 years ago now, 3 years ago now. I think it was Klarna AI. What do I want to search for? Klarna AI replacement something. If I remember right, Klarna did a massive layoffs. They did a bunch of layoffs and tried to replace those people with an AI implementation that went completely terrible, and then they ended up having to hire the people back. Yeah, here we go. Klarna reverses AI customer service. This is what I'm talking about. So this is a great example of an automation project gone wrong, right? You think you're going to automate something, and you think it's going to be trivial, and then you find out, it's tough. I've worked for manufacturers for the last 12 years on the shop floor and in the office. All the tedious stuff like paperwork, inventory would be so easy to automate. I don't know, man. I'm just always hesitant to say so easy. Based on my experience and being working in a plant, I don't know, man. I mean, could it be valuable and helpful? For sure. I just don't know if easy is the right word. Like possible? Yes. Easy? I don't know. If no one is employed, who will consume and buy stuff? Historically, workers only have had rights because they can bargain with their ability to work. Ryan said, purpose-built applications, not AI, because AI never gets things right. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're saying like just do like traditional engineering to automate a lot of the stuff that's happening in the manufacturing world. Yeah, I I can see that. So we did when I worked for a company called Ajinomoto, and we built a brand new plant in my hometown. We made basically coated appetizers. So this was the company I worked for, Ajinomoto North America. Yeah, here we go. This was the company I worked for. We built a new plant in my hometown in Joplin, Missouri. Ajinomoto new plant, which was really cool. It was really cool to be a part of this because you don't get to be a part of new plant build outs very often. They're very expensive and they're very capital intensive. But one of the things we did on our production lines at this plant was we added a bunch of equipment and software and electronics to the production line so that you could actually monitor the production lines in real time. And it was supposed to be so cool, and in theory it made so much sense. It was going to be so awesome. And and without going into too much detail, it just wasn't. And so I'm just super skeptical. I think automation always sounds really great in theory, but when the rubber meets the road, it's always a little bit more difficult than what you anticipate. And I think Klarna's experience with AI is a great example of that, right? And I think you're going to see that play out again and again in the white collar space as they try to automate other white collar professions, because that's what's happened in manufacturing for the last 50 years is we've been trying to automate tons and tons of manual processes, and we've successfully done it in some cases, and we've wasted a lot of time and money and energy in other places. But I don't know. I guess pics or it didn't happen. That's my that's my attitude. India is practically cooked due to AI. Why do you think that? Studio, why I feel like I have applied to a job while trying to join Discord server. Oh, I can approve your application. I put an application on my Discord server. I put an application on my Discord server mainly to keep the riffraff out. It's the same reason why my chat is only for subscribers, is because I feel like if I'm going to have a stream or I'm going to have a Discord server, and maybe this is just me as a dad, but like I kind of feel like part of my responsibility is to make sure that it stays like a semi-safe, semi-enjoyable space to be. And so I want to keep out people who are just their only reason for being there is for trollish like behavior. And I tend to find that people who like to engage in trolling on the internet are lazy. And so any amount of friction kind of keeps them away. Like if they have to lift one extra finger to do the thing they want to do, which is fuck with others, then they will usually just move on with their, they'll find somebody else to go fuck with. So that's why there's a application on my Discord server. You can only automate effectively if the problem is clearly and formally well defined. Many tasks are not like that. Yeah, and many tasks are like that, but in the real world, there's a lot of exceptions to the rule, right? And that's why human beings are so exceptional at doing things, is because we can on the fly deal with all the exceptions. We can handle all of the rough edges of a problem space. Jose, thanks for subbing. Whereas AI currently cannot, right? It sort of can, but not reliably. Studio, nice. Ryan, absolutely. You've got to pick and choose your battles with automation. The company I work for has the Verizon retail build-out contract, and I've automated the floor plan submittal process in a month. That's awesome, man. I bet that was actually pretty fun. And I'll bet there's some people who were involved in that submittal process that love you. Like they probably are like, dude, Ryan, he's the best. Which always feels so good. It feels so good when you can write code and work on stuff and other people appreciate it. All right, well, let's go back. Returning to what Copilot was working on us for. Returning to what Copilot was working on for us. Sometimes I can't speak this early in the morning. So what they're saying is, or what Copilot's saying is, we should implement a problem, which implements the error interface. Okay. And then we should have some sort of helpful write JSON method, which we probably need anyways. And if the JSON encoding fails, then we return to just a plain text error. I'd be okay with that. Although I don't think I need this. I don't think I need all of this. I do like this though, right? JSON. So let's where do you guys put this? So if I have an internal package, do I put this in like the utils, like a utils file or something? I don't know. I guess that's what I'll do. I'll just put it in a utils.go. It should only be used here in the handler, right? So we'll do utils.go, and then we'll do utils test.go. And let's write a test first. Let's try to practice good. So we'll do package handler test, import testing. Ryan, I was the process. I had 5K stores to draw, and I said screw doing all that manually. You had to draw 5,000 stores? No fucking way. That sounds horrible. That would be motivation alone for automation. That's awesome, dude. Way to solve your own problem. Mark, I mean, if you want to have a variant of Dijkstra's algorithm in your code, you can probably ask an LLM for that. But that's only because that's a clearly defined problem. Building a bridge or detecting cancer are not clearly defined problems. Mark, you are a wise man. You speak the truth. Yeah, you speak the truth, man. What's crazy to me, I guess what's crazy to me, and sometimes I feel like maybe there's times where I second guess my take on AI, is when do I second take my guess on AI? I second take my guess on AI when I listen to really smart people who I know probably know even more about it than I do, and they have sort of a more optimistic bend on it. Sometimes I'm skeptical. So that's sometimes when I second guess myself, you know? Like when I listen to Dario from Anthropic, or I listen to Satya Nadella. But then I also kind of remind myself that these people have financial, like they have a financial stake in this, right? So they kind of need it to succeed, or a lot of people lose a lot of money. And so that's kind of what I cling to. I don't know. I would be totally fine to be proven wrong too, right? Like I'm totally okay if LLMs turn out to be the savior of the human race. I just at this point I don't think that's going to be the case. What do you mean building 20K stuff? I didn't understand clearly at first. Oh, well, Ryan, so Ryan was saying earlier, I think this is what you're talking about, I Love Lamp. Ryan was saying earlier that the part of the work that he does involved having to draw a bunch of what essentially I'm assuming are like plans to build something. And instead of doing that, instead of repetitively doing that manually a bunch of times, he automated that process. I think that's what you're talking about. I don't feel like I ever said 20K. I don't know where that number came from, but apologies if I confused you. Sometimes I know speak good. Mark, by the way, what are we coding? It kind of looks like Rust, so I'll say it is Go. It's Go. Yeah, it's Go. So Advent of Code, for those of you that don't know, I'll put the link in the chat again. But Advent of Code is getting ready to start on December 1st. And one of the goals that I had set for the year for myself was to do Advent of Code using Go. So for that reason, we've been spending the whole month of November basically doing this. This has kind of been our learning plan for learning Go. We did a couple tutorials, like walking through documentation and whatnot, which I guess I can actually delete some of this now. So we did tour of Go, and then we did learn Go with Tess. Then we did a little bit of practice with old Advent of Code problems. And now we're trying to actually figure out how we actually build things. Like, how do we build like real world projects with Go? Which is why right now I'm working on building like a toy API. And when I say toy API, I don't mean an API that has data about toys. I mean, it's an API that isn't ever actually going to serve like a production process. It's just a made up thing for me to explore. Studio, can I complete learning Go in 3 days if I want to start AOC? You can. You could try, and you could also use AOC as a way to learn Go, right? So as you try to solve those problems, it forces you to ask questions about the language. I've seen people that have never written a line of a language until the first Advent of Code problem they've done. So that you could totally do that. Not sure how much fun you'll have, not sure how many problems you'll solve, but you could definitely do that. You can also just use any other language. It doesn't have to be. You can do Advent of Code with Excel if you want, right? Like you don't have to use a programming language. Ashuto, best courses and resources to learn. This is just what I used. I don't know if these are the best, but these are what I used, and they worked just fine for me. So I use Tour of Go, which is a part of the official Go documentation. So if you go to go.dev and you type on, or you click on Get Started, and then you scroll down, there'll be a card here for Tour of Go. You just click on that, and it's just basically an interactive tutorial where they have snippets of code that you can run. You can type right here in your browser. Kind of almost like kind of a free code camp like experience. So this was very helpful to like get a basic kind of how to work with Go. Then we looked at another resource called Learn Go with Tess. Both of these resources were recommended by chat. And Learn Go with Tess covers a lot of the same information that's covered in Tour of Go, but this guy or this resource covers it more from a like TDD philosophy. So I can paste that link for you if you'd like, because that one's a little bit harder to find. So if you go to Tour of Go is here. Let's put these links in the chat real quick. Like I said, I don't know if these are the best Learn Go with Tess, but they were helpful for me. And so if you'd be interested in trying them out, go for it. I had a goal to implement GPT-2 in Rust this year to learn how an LLM works, learn Rust better, but I never started that project. Too little time. Yeah, that's the problem with technology is there's so much and there's just not enough time in the day to learn it all. It's funny you say that though, because I'll go get something real quick. Yeah, it's funny you say that because this was a book I bought earlier this year. Build a large language model. This is all in Python. It's not in Rust. But it basically does what you're talking about doing. You basically learn how to build a very small GPT model, and then instead of you learn to train it on a very small data set, and then instead of training it yourself or paying money to run a really large training run, you take open weights from GPT-2 and you load them into your model. It's a good book. There's only like 6 chapters in it, but a lot of the stuff in here is kind of over my head, like just in terms of like the ML side of things. And so I've had to reread the chapters like multiple times. I think there's 7 chapters total. And I've read most of the chapters twice at this point. Yeah, 7 chapters. It's a good book though. If you're interested in learning about building large language models, it's a good book. Is that Ada on the cover? I think so. Yeah, I think so. Can you link? Oh, yeah, I can link the book for sure. Let's see. Build a large language model from scratch. It's kind of cool though to hear other people have the same desire to learn the similar thing. This is the guy that wrote the book, Sebastian Roschka. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, this guy. A copy. I don't know if you want to buy it from Amazon. I think you can buy it straight from the publisher too if you want. It's a Manning book. Let's see. Build a large language model book. There you go. It's very good. Like I said, I've been through most of the chapters twice, and it definitely helps you form a better understanding of what the models are. Like it's kind of wild that so much of it really is just matrix multiplication and linear algebra. That's like the majority of the process of producing all these layers of these neural nets. It's like, what is it? Well, it's a bunch of matrices with a bunch of really large floating point numbers, and we multiply, slow typer, thanks for subbing, and we multiply a bunch of shit together. It's kind of wild. And somehow it produces these really useful bits of technology. Ryan, I've heard of AOC but never participated. Do you have to give an email or sign up to participate? Sort of, Ryan. So you do in a way to get the solution. So you don't really have to get the puzzles. Like if you're not signed in, you can still go and see the puzzles, but you can't actually submit it, right? So like if you aren't logged in, then you can't submit your answer to check to see if you have the right thing. So you do have to give it some sort of an identity. You could make a fake one though, right? Just make a throwaway one for admin of code. Studio, I explored both, but test is more like I'm learning something more than just Golang, but running tests is really helpful. Yeah, so my day job is as a quality engineer, so I kind of have a bias to testing. But a lot of tutorials don't cover testing. In a lot of languages, they don't cover testing. So it's kind of nice to have a tutorial that takes a very test first approach, which is cool. Mark, having a master's degree in mathematics helps, and I'm always much more interested in the mathematical stuff rather than the AI hype. Oh yeah, I don't have a master's in anything, let alone math. So you would probably be able to read that book and follow the math part, the math bits of it a little bit better than I could. Let's see, Mark, you applied to an LLM PhD yesterday. Oh, that's cool. Well, if you get in, let us know, man. I'd love to know somebody with a PhD in machine learning or AI, whatever they're calling it these days. Ashuto QA tester. Yeah, so so my day job, you guys can find me on LinkedIn. My day job is I do manual and automated testing for a web application. So if you ever want to creep on my professional history, it's there. If I can't do research mathematics professionally, the next best thing might be to develop the AI models at uni. Maybe. I guess it just depends on what you enjoy doing, what you have fun. I don't think I'd want to do I don't think I want to do mathematics research professionally. I mean, I don't have anything against math, but I don't think I want to spend all my days doing equations, writing obscure characters on chalkboards. I hate math. I can't continue my degree due to math. Math can be frustrating. I empathize with people who I never struggled with it, although I didn't. The highest math I took in college was calculus. I didn't have to do differential equations or anything like that for my degree. So if you're trying to do something further up that ladder, that's beyond me. And most math now is beyond me. Like I couldn't do calculus now. Like I know I took calculus. I know I passed. I know I got a good enough grade to get my degree, which I have over here. I never, in all the years I've been working, I'm 32 now, so I've been working for 10 years. No one's ever asked to see this thing. And so whenever I get a chance to show it, I do. I promise I went to college. But yeah, I feel you. It's math is difficult. King Salmon. Hello, King Salmon. It's Sam. Well, but your username says King Salmon. Salmon. Congrats, bro. Oh, dude, that was 10 years ago now. You know, I graduated college 10 years ago. So, what courses did you take and on what level? How did you briefly end up as a software dev? So my college degree is in biochemistry. I originally thought I wanted to be a doctor, Mark. That was the original plan. It's Sam, your nephew. Oh, hey, Sam. That's hilarious. Oh, now I see your picture. What's up, buddy? How are you? I'll try to be on my best behavior since you're here. Yeah. So what courses did I take? The only courses I had to take for the math and physics was I had to take calculus was the highest math class I had to take, and then for physics I just had to take physics 1 and physics 2. And so the first physics had to do more with Newtonian physics, you know, types of things. And then the second physics course had to do more with like electromagnetism. I remember that being a big topic in that course. But I mean, again, it's like that was 10 years ago. How did I end up working in engineering or in software or tech? So I was a food scientist. I was working for that company Ajinomoto. And then I had my kids, and that job was very time intensive. You know, Mark, biochemistry. At least you know the Krebs cycle by heart. I don't anymore, but I did have to know it in college. We actually had to, that was part of one of our exams, was we had to draw, we had to be able to like go up to the whiteboard and we had to be able to like write the Krebs cycle on the whiteboard, right? And explain each of the step and what happens and what gets converted to what. Why that was so important, I don't know. For the degree, but you're right. You have to know the Krebs cycle for sure to get your degree in biochemistry. Now though I couldn't repeat it to you. So yeah, so how did I end up in tech? I was working as a food scientist. I was doing a lot of research and development, which meant my hours could be sort of crazy sometimes. And with two little kids, I was like, well, how can I find a job that's more like not that way? So I started learning to code in like 2018, but I didn't get a job in tech until 2020. And then as I've worked in tech at this company, I've just slowly kind of increased my skills, you know, over time, and like worked my way into opportunities that are more technical. Yeah, long story short. Studio now, and maybe I should start my degree again without math. Maybe, or maybe just find a degree that's doesn't require you to take the math that you're. I mean, a lot of people in the school I went to, a lot of people would declare as in the life sciences. A lot of people would declare as biology, chemistry, or biochemistry. We had three majors, and we'd have people that declared for each one. But what would happen is, after like the second semester, almost every one of those degree programs would force people to take an organic chemistry class. And that class would be the decision point if people were going to change their major. So there would be a lot of people with biochem majors who would take organic chemistry and then redeclare to biology. Because on the biology track, it allows you to get out of doing some of that stuff, right? So maybe there's a degree program, Studio, that doesn't allow you to, or allows you to avoid taking the math that you don't feel like you can do or you don't want to do. Not always possible, but maybe feasible. How many ATP do we get again? 12. I remember learning it in high school. Bro, I haven't talked about anything related to biochemistry 10 years, man. I'd have to look it all up. I'd have to start all over again. If I wanted to become a bench chemist, it would be such a learning curve. Like if I started trying to apply to jobs where I could be a bench chemist, they would probably be like, dude, you're 10 years out of high school and you have no experience, or 10 years out of college and you have no prior experience. You know, like I'd have to start at the very bottom. See Artwork Studios, have a good day, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. In India, except for medical, but all others have math. That's tough, dude. Well, then you might just have to grin and bear it. You know, I don't know. You might just have to force your way through it. Chemistry is just the Schrodinger equation. How hard can it be? That's what people say about every field. How hard can it be? Right? How hard can it be? Let's see. It should... What should I do? It should write a JSON response if able to marshal data. And then there's also going to be a sad path, which is it should write a text response if unable to marshal data. So what will that look like? So if we go back to Copilot's thing here. See you, Studio. Thanks for hanging out, man. Good luck with the math. I know that's tough, dude, when you find something you're up against and you can't quite figure it out. Wonder why it's using encoding. Why not use Marshall? I'm going to interrogate it. why, when writing the JSON, you are using the encoder versus just Marshall. I don't really understand why in Go you use one or the other. For a second, I thought you were talking to me. Well, I was, and I was talking to you, and now I'm talking to Studio. It writes chunks of JSON directly to the response writer as they are encoded. It doesn't need to hold the entire resulting JSON string in memory. Ooh. Okay. That seems like it's valuable. That seems valuable, right? So how would I test this? So we need a recorder, right? HTTP test.new recorder. And then, well, hold on, what's the signature of that method that he wrote? We need a response writer, status, and data. So if we were to write our test for this, it would be something like, whoops. It'd be something like this. So we have our recorder, we have our request, or let's say our data, right? So data. And this is going to be a map of string and any. Any. And let's just do hello world, like that. That's our data. And then we're going to have some function that we're going to call write JSON that's going to take in our recorder, which in this case it's going to be a response writer. Then we're going to have a status code. And what else? Our data, right? So then we're going to check to see if, I guess we wrote to the response what we would expect. I think this is the right way to test this. I could be wrong then. So we'll say, body, we do response body equals rs dot body. What is this? This is a buffer. So we can do JSON dot unmarshal. I don't know. How did I do this other places? I don't remember how I did this. This is basically what we do here. So let's rename this to res. So we don't have a write JSON. We don't have a body. We should also say so we'll do expected data. We'll also do expected status code. And let's do HTTP status code. Okay. And then let's also do expected content type. This will be Does Go have a like a constants for content type? Ashutosh about GitHub Workspace. Ashutosh, you've been posting things in my chat all morning, and I'm not sure what you're talking about. Mark, unrelated. I don't like when IDs change characters to those that are not in the language. Oh, you're talking about the ligatures? You're talking about this. If you do like triple equals, or you can also do not equals, I think is the other one. Not equals, or arrows. Yeah, you don't like that. Is that what you're saying? But then I'm a Vim purist, so my opinion should be taken with a grain of salt. I don't know. I think at one point in time I wasn't a fan of ligatures, and then as I started using more nerd fonts that just have ligatures built into them, they've kind of grown on me. I could take them or leave them though. Good morning, Yanlei. How are you? We're doing a little bit of a Thanksgiving stream today to get our day started. I'll probably go till 7 though today because I have family who's staying with us. Bunch of nieces and nephews, and so I'll probably stream till about 7 and then go upstairs and start my real Thanksgiving. Not my digital Thanksgiving, but my real Thanksgiving. Let's see. I mean, those characters are not a part of the language, so if there really was a not equals in the code, how would you tell? I don't know. I don't know how you would tell, honestly. It's a valid point. I don't know how you would tell it. I also don't know why you would need to tell that there is one or not one. I haven't ever run across that use case myself. But I think your opinion's valid. You're allowed to think it's dumb. Totally fine. Totally fine take. Let's see. So we want to do if res.code. Oh, this isn't going to work because excuse me. I wonder if there's like a way to check for map equality in Go. Go, how to check if two maps are equal. Is there like a map.equals function? Oh, there is. Maps.equal. Just like slices. You can do maps.equal. So we could do if maps.equal res body and expected data. That's false. Then we can do t.error f, and we can say got %s but expected %s. And I have written very little code today. Oh, also this is not triple equals because we're not writing JavaScript, we're writing Go. Let's just let's comment this test out for a second. So we need to implement this write JSON function. So let's go over to utils and let's do write func write JSON. Takes a writer, which is a response dot response writer, takes a status code, which is an int, and it takes data, which is any. And then we have to do something, or we have to do what Copilot said to do. Which Copilot said we need to encode, we need to stream the data using the encoder. Did I delete that Copilot message? No, there it is. Ashutosh, I was talking about GitHub code space. Yeah, but I don't know what you're talking about. You just said about GitHub Workspace. I don't know what you're. Are you asking me a question? Do you want to know if I've used it before? No, I don't know, Ashuto, what you want. For bugs, you wouldn't know if you get an error because there's something wrong with the code, or if the IDE is hiding a not equal characters in the code. Yeah, I don't think I understand that example you just given. Like, I understand the words you said, but I can't actually think of a concrete time where that would occur. Like, can you give me a specific example of when that would happen, or how you would recreate that? Because I can't think of it. Use experience. I haven't used GitHub Codespace. Yeah, I know it exists. I know it's there, but I don't use it. I've seen demos of people using it, like where they have a repository and then they define the code space. I think there's a file where you can define like what the code space should be when somebody starts it up. So it's a way to like get people up and running with your project very quickly. They can essentially just go to your repo, open a code space, and the development environment for that project is set up exactly how it should be. That seems like a compelling use case if you work with a large number of people or want to make it very easy to contribute to the thing you're working on. But I've never used it myself. Maybe other than like a handful of times, right? Like I might have spun up a code space to make a small change to something, but I don't use it like every day. It's not my primary dev experience. So we're gonna set the header. Let's see, and then we're gonna stream. So this is status code. And then we have to bring in the JSON. I think I'd like to do this like this. Encoding error. I don't really like defining the declaration in the if statement. I know there's a lot of Go code that does that. It's not really my style. I find it confusing. So if encoding error. I also don't think I want this method to handle sending a response. I think if there's an error, I just want to propagate it. So return encoding error. I think I just want to propagate it up. I want the caller to handle it. So I want this to be like Some text editors automatically change the not equals into the ligature. Yep. If you open a file that has not equals, but your IDE also typesets not equals as the ligature, you can't distinguish between them. Effectively, your IDE lies about which characters are actually in the file. I guess that could be the case, but why would your code file have a not equals or a ligature that isn't actually not equals, right? Like by definition, source code is restricted to a set of symbols that you can use, and you can only use them in a specific way, right? So like I'm having a hard time thinking like, well, in what case would you need to represent a ligature not equals in your source code that doesn't represent not equals? To me, it seems like you're hyper fixated on contriving a situation where it could be problematic, and I think 99.9% of the time, it's never gonna be a problem. It's like it's like living your life obsessed about meteor hitting Earth, where the probability of that is relatively low versus getting hit by a car, right? Probably should be way more worried about the getting hit by a car scenario than the dying by meteor impact. So I think being concerned that ligatures are going to be a problem in your code is probably not a real concern at the end of the day. It doesn't bother me, but if it bothers you, don't use it. Let's see, go test internal handlers utils. Awesome. It worked. I'm always suspect if I'm testing things correctly. It should write a JSON response if able to encode. Let's see, because some text editors automatically change that. It's akin to how Excel automatically changes or interprets certain strings in unintended ways. Yeah, Mark, I mean, I don't know. Man. I'm sorry ligatures are a pain for you. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see, res.code does not equal expected status code. They even had to rename certain genes because Excel interpreted them as dates. That seems problematic. That seems problematic. Mark, you said you had a master's in math. Do you mind me asking what university you went to? What university did you get your degree from? Chalmers, Gothenburg, Sweden. So you're Swedish? Is that what I take from that? I'd like to visit Sweden someday. Yeah, nice. I'd like to visit Sweden someday. Is that where you're gonna do? Is that where you applied for your PhD at too? Is that university? Oh, you're in Amsterdam? Dude, you're still here, Rampla? That's awesome. Good to see you, man. I didn't realize you were still here. Yeah, I would like to visit all of those countries. Sweden, Norway. Meatballs? Balaha? What? Yeah, chilling out. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate you hanging out and chilling. That's what we're here to do, is chill and occasionally write some code. Be thankful to be alive today. I would love to visit a country. Dude, you and me both. I've only been out of the United States once. I've been to Honduras. That's the only international travel I've ever done. And I was 13 when we went, 12 or 13 when we went. But yeah, there's so many places I'd like to be able to go. It's a stuffed animal by IKEA. IKEA famously names their products with Swedish words. Oh, I didn't know that. Man, chat's just educating me today. I applied to Uppsala University. It's north of Stockholm. Any particular reason why them? They just had the program that you were interested in, or what? Had to blow my nose. It's been one of those mornings. I've been losing my fight against the runny nose this morning. The other thing we want to check is we want to make sure the content type is set. So if we do res.header map contains the headers explicitly set by the handlers, it is an internal detail. It returns the response headers to test the headers that were written after a handler. Whoops. Use the what? I can't see the... I can't read the documentation. Let's see, let's go documentation. Uppsala is pretty good in algebra and math in general. Very smart and interesting people there. The Nordic countries are usually good work, abstract algebra and number theory. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about which places in the world are better at math than others. So I had to take your word for it. Response. What's the type? This is a response recorder. Response recorder. So this says to test the headers that were written after a handler completes, use the response recorder.result method and see the returned response values header. Result returns the response generated by the handler. The returned response will have at least its status code, header, body, and optional trailer populated. Oh, so should I be using... I think I should be using that, shouldn't I? I'm not using that. So I should be doing res.result.body. So we should do... So what we should do is we should do results equals res.result like this. And then we should do result.body. It would help if I read the documentation, wouldn't it? And then we should do var headers, or let's do result dot headers or header, which returns header maps header keys to values. So if I did content type, well, then how do I get values out of it? Dot get. We'll do content type. And this actually shouldn't be problem. This should just be JSON. So let's do if res.header or result.header get content type that does not equal expected content type, then we want to fail the test. Expected content type is application/JSON. So can you just code from a smart fridge or things like that? I don't know if you could code from a smart fridge. I bet someone's done that before. Good morning, Noku. Good to see you again. It's been a minute, man. I hope you're doing well. Or, I don't know, you might be a girl. I don't mean to misgender you, Noku. But either way, I hope you're doing well, Noku. Good to see you again. Sock Sham. Hey man, I watched you 6 months ago. Started coding too. I started AI and ML, finished, and made some nice projects as well. Now I'm doing DL, which I'm not sure I know what DL is. I just wanted to say thanks for inspiring me. Oh, that's kind, dude. Yeah, I'm glad that I could help point you in the right direction or get you moving in the right direction. I don't want to take credit for anything you've done because you did the hard work, man. 6 months of learning a new thing is a long time, so congratulations on that. And I'm glad you're having fun and glad you found a path that you enjoy. Mark, I think that's because many giants in those fields have been Nordic. Abel, that the Nobel Prize is named after, was Norwegian. Some universities are bigger and more specialized in certain areas than others. I think that should be the main reason to go to a place, because they do something that is interesting. Oh, for sure. Especially if you're talking about getting a PhD, right? If you're talking about getting a PhD, you want to go get it from the person who's an authority on whatever topic you want to be an authority on. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, Europe, smaller. There's just a smaller number of people in any given countries working on something, so you have to be willing to travel. I think that's to be expected. I mean, yeah, in the United States we're a little lucky because of how big the United States is. It's a little bit more diversity amongst probably all the different researchers working on different topics. I would go back to school in a heartbeat if it wasn't so damn expensive. I would get a master's, I'd get a PhD, and I would start tomorrow. If somebody said, "Hey, Steven, I'll pay for your master's or I'll pay for your PhD," no brainer. It's just too expensive for me at this point. I'm doing good, and for future reference, I am indeed a girl. Okay. Sorry, Noku. I didn't mean to. I always default to man or dude or bro, which is very bro-y of me. But I apologize for that. I got sick, so I've been suffering. Oh man, being sick's the worst. Yep, work and sickness. That'll eat up all your time. Got to finish my programming homework. Nice. Practice hiragana. What's hiragana? I don't know what that is. Also go to music class. Man, you've been busy. You've been busy and you've been going through it a little bit. Hold on, what's that word? I don't know what that word is. Hiragana. I guess it's like, that's Japanese. It's a Japanese writing, I guess, is what that is. Cool. But yeah, you've been busy. But I hope you're doing better. I hope you're not sick anymore. Ramplot, do you feel safe in the U.S. these days? All we see on TV is craziness. No, I feel safe. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what people see out of the U.S. outside of the U.S., but we're lucky. We live in a very safe area of the United States. Sorry, I thought someone came down into the basement. Yeah, we live in a very safe part of the U.S., so we're lucky. I'm sure there's unsafe places, but with 2 little kids, you kind of have to place a priority on being somewhere safe. Hey, Steven, are you currently building an endpoint? Yes, that's what we're doing right now. We're hacking together a little toy API using Go, using my limited knowledge of Go. And what we were doing was we were writing a test for a helper method to basically help us more easily respond to requests with JSON data. That's what we're doing. We're basically at this point in my journey of learning Go where it's like I know enough of the language to write it, but I don't know really how you use like the built-in standard libraries to build actual applications. So that's why we're kind of going through and building different types of applications. Like we built a static website. Now I'm building a REST API. I'd like to try to build a CLI tool in it, you know, because it doesn't really matter if you know how to write code in a particular language. Every community and every language has its own approach to building XYZ thing. And so you in order to be a very effective .NET developer, you kind of have to learn, if you want to be an effective .NET web developer, then you need to learn ASP.NET or you need to learn Blazor. If you want to be effective TypeScript web developer, then you need to learn React or Vue or Nuxt or Next. You know what I mean? You have to learn the framework of whatever community language you're in. So that's what I'm doing now. Noku. Oh, it's a Japanese writing system. Nice. That's what the internet told me too. So I'm glad the internet didn't lead me astray there. I'm still sick, but better. Just got a horrible cough. Well, I hope you get 100 back to 100%. Your health is one of those things that you don't think about it a lot till you don't have it. And man, when you don't have your health, then nothing really else matters. Japan has 3 Oh, I didn't know that. They have 3 different writing systems. Wow. Talk about having it easy here in the United States. I'm trying to build a career in backend. What do you suggest for a roadmap? Oh man, I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that. I guess I'll answer your question from my perspective as somebody who, if I wanted to be a backend developer, what I would do. It would probably be the same for any type of developer. Like I think if I wanted to be a backend developer and I wanted to have a job where people pay me to work on backends, I would probably look around at the companies near me, or specifically companies I want to go and work for. Either I'd be willing to work for them remotely, or I'd be willing to move to wherever they are to work for them. And I would try to figure out, either through some research on the internet or through some job postings, I would try to figure out what their backend is built in, right? So like if I was like looking at Netflix, I'd probably want to go learn Java, right? Or if I'm looking at Shopify, I probably want to go learn Ruby on Rails, that type of thing. And then I would go and learn. I know this sounds uber simplistic and dumb, but then I would go acquire the skills for that backend, whatever that, go learn the language. Okay, learn Java. Okay, now let's go learn some of the large frameworks for building things in Java, like Spring Boot, right? Same thing with .NET. If I wanted to be a backend developer, and a lot of the companies near me built their backends in .NET. Then I'd want to go learn C#. Then I'd want to go learn about MVC and ASP.NET. I'd probably want to learn how to build background processes or background workers in .NET. How do you do that? Yeah, I think that's where I would start, man. I know that's not really a roadmap, but that's kind of like, if your goal is get job, if the goal is get job as backend engineer, then I think the best way to give yourself a high chance of succeeding at that would be to make sure you acquire knowledge in a tech stack that actually makes you employable, right? Because you could go learn Haskell and be able to build backends in Haskell. But I don't know about you, but I don't see a lot of job postings that are looking for Haskell engineers. Maybe it's just where I am, but that I don't see that. Mark, every developer should know C. Well, I'm not a developer then, because I don't know C, and I've never written a line of it. Quality edits. Hey man, I waited 5 minutes just to chat. But how long have you been coding for? Hey, Quality Edits. Why did you wait 5 minutes to chat? Is that something I have set up on my stream? If I do, I didn't know that, and I apologize. Let me see. That must be something I have set. Oh yeah, you have to be subscribed for 5 minutes before you can chat. Well, I appreciate you waiting. I appreciate you waiting. That's why there's no trolls in my chat, because people aren't. It's not that people have to subscribe; it's that people have to wait for 5 minutes. I've been coding for. There's a video on my YouTube channel that, if you want a long story time, like about my coding journey, you can go and watch it. I go into more detail. See if I can find it. Learn code. Oh man, I've got too many videos now. How I learned to code. Yeah, that's what it is. So if you want a long story time, this is the best place for that. At Quality Edits. But the long story short is, I started learning to code. I did my first programming in C# in college. I took computer programming 1 and 2 as electives, and I did that in C#. Then I didn't touch programming again for 3 years. I didn't really try to do anything with programming again until 2018. And then in 2018, I did like one course from Duke University that was pretty much just basic vanilla CSS, HTML, JavaScript. And then I got really serious about learning to code in like spring of 2021. Yeah, spring of 2021. So about 5 years. Mark, C forces you to think about the memory is actually laid in hardware, then learn whatever languages are relevant for the job. Yeah, I've never written any C, so I don't know if I don't really have any plans to learn how to write C at this point. I do want to learn Rust, but I don't have any plans to write C. So I don't know if I can ever be a real developer. Simab, what resources and websites have you been using to learn Go? Hey Sam, what's up, dude? I'm getting ready to come upstairs. Sam's my nephew. King Salmon. Salmon. Mom. You're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your username, Sam. But yeah, Sam's my nephew. He's upstairs. He's visiting us for Thanksgiving. What resources / websites have you been using to learn to Go? So let me get those for you. I can get them for you really quick. Somebody asked about this earlier. So I've been using, these are what I used. I used the Tour of Go. So at Simov, I used Tour of Go. And I'll link to that here. It was good. So Tour of Go is pretty good. I feel like to get basic gist of the language. And then the other resource that was really helpful is called Learn Go with Tess. And that's over here. This is by a gentleman named Chris James. Something that he built and made available for everyone. It's very good. It's almost like a book, but on the internet. And it is very good. So it has more, this has more of like a TDD approach to programming and development with Go. So you actually learn like how do you write tests and all that good stuff. So those were very helpful. So those are the two resources I used. And then as soon as I kind of had those completed, I jumped into old Advent of Code problems. And then currently this is where I'm at right now, which is I'm just building like simple projects to kind of figure out how to do basic stuff. And then in December, we're just going to do Advent of Code with Go. And then after that, I don't know if I'll ever come back to Go. I don't know if I'll ever touch it again because I still prefer C# and TypeScript. But it's been fun to learn something new. Mark, I was talking about back-end developer though. Probably if you write network stuff, you probably don't have to worry about memory and hardware. Yeah, I don't know. Of all the developers I work with at work, I'm not sure how many of them ever wrote any C. You know, I don't know. I think there's a lot of developers that are out working today that don't write C and have never written C. I think that's just kind of an arbitrary thing that you've decided, Mark, that all people should learn how to write C. So, but that's fine. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. You seem to be a very opinionated person, which I've got no issues with that. Simov, thank you. Yeah. Hopefully you find those helpful. Yep, for sure. All right, chat. Like I told Sam, I'm gonna head upstairs and see the family. We've got some family staying with us. We got Thanksgiving. We've got a lunch and dinner with a larger group of family. So I'm gonna let my digital life. I'm gonna put my digital life to bed for the day and go back to the real life, the real world. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. So I'm gonna do my normal wrap up. So if you're new here, the best place to find us outside of the stream is Discord. So I say it's our Discord because chat was the one who wanted to come up with the Discord. So that's why we have it. So if you want to interact with me or interact with anybody in stream, that's the best place to find us outside of the stream. If you're new here and you'd like to come back for future streams, you want to hang out some more, my schedule is I'm typically live from 4:15 a.m. Central Standard Time to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, which I know if you're in the United States, it's very early. But the reason for that is I'm a dad, I have a day job. So the best time to get a couple hours of uninterrupted time to stream is in the morning. So that's why that is that way. Hey, Renee, what's up, man? You've been here the whole time and you haven't said anything. Or you just got here and you said something. It's good to see you, Renee. I appreciate you encouraging people to like and subscribe. It's very kind. All right, so you schedule Discord. Plans for the rest of the week are more building projects with Go. Then on Monday, we'll start Advent of Code. More drinking coffee, more chatting, of course, as always. And then if I don't see you on stream, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Or I guess I should say, if I don't see you in the comments of a video or a short today, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And then if I don't see you tomorrow on stream, I hope you have a great Friday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. And if it's Friday for you already, have a great Friday. Wishing you guys all the best. All right, chat. Bye, Renee. Bye, Artwork Studios. Bye, Simov. Bye, Mark. Bye. Oh, Sam's probably not still here. I'm going to go up and see Sam in a minute. Bye, Quality Edits. Noku. See you, Noku. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. All right, guys. Bye, chat. Bye. Bye. See you guys. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving.